What happens when the low end starts dragging the whole band down?
I took a quarter-inch home and I played it to my then wife, and she burst into tears, and I thought, well, she feels the same way I do. We finally...
Once the backbone of rock's greatest anthems, these bassists held it down for decades. But over time, the groove slipped into a slow decline.
Things is wrong here, man. I should be taking care of her.
Missed notes, off-rhythm licks, and performances that made fans cringe instead of cheer. Legends, absolutely. But even legends need to know when to bow out. Brace yourself for rock bassists who should have quit years ago.
We had the whole book laid out, and we had tint posts. And here's Rick Van Sant, and here's Dane Rage, and here's this person, and here's...
Is Nikki Sixx even playing his bass anymore? That's the million-dollar question that has haunted Mötley Crüe's recent tours. It all exploded when former guitarist Mick Mars filed a lawsuit, dropping a bombshell allegation that 100% of Sixx's bass parts were pre-recorded. Suddenly, everything was under a microscope. Fans became amateur detectives, analyzing countless hours of live footage, pointing to moments where Sixx's hands didn't seem to match the thunderous bass lines coming through the speakers. Producer Bob Rock's past comments about Sixx's studio struggles resurfaced, adding fuel to the fire. Now look, Sixx was a force of nature in the 80s, a chief songwriter and the architect of a legendary rock and roll circus. But the damage to his credibility as a live musician is undeniable. When your performance becomes a subject of forensic analysis rather than musical enjoyment, it's a clear sign that the illusion is broken. The irony is, at 67, he doesn't need this. He's a rock icon with a legacy and a fortune. But the relentless drive to keep the Mötley Crüe machine churning has for many overshadowed the very legacy he's trying to preserve.
Best thing that ever happened to me was coming to America. I mean that honestly, unapologetically. Once I landed in America with my mother.
How many times can a band say goodbye? For Kiss, the answer seems to be forever. Their end-of-the-road tour has become a running joke in the rock community, a farewell that never seems to end. And at the center of it all is Gene Simmons, now 76 years old. The spectacle is still there, the makeup, the blood spitting, the larger-than-life persona. But the musical foundation is showing serious cracks. Simmons' bass playing was never about technical wizardry. It was about serving the song and the show. But as the years have gone on, his less is more philosophy feels less like an artistic choice and more like a necessity. His voice has audibly declined, and the physical demands of the costume and the stage show are clearly taking their toll. More and more, Simmons has become a personality first and a musician second, focusing on his brand and controversial statements. When a band's final tour stretches on for years with no end in sight and the performances are met with mixed reviews, you have to ask, is this about celebrating a legacy, or is it about milking it for every last dollar?
And that's obviously what caused all the trouble in the band, is that it's all strong stuff and it didn't sit well with the rest.
There was a time when a Roger Waters concert was about the transcendent music of Pink Floyd. Now, at 82 years old, it feels more like a political rally with a legendary soundtrack. Waters' genius was always in his songwriting and grand conceptual vision, not his functional bass playing. But in recent years, his live shows have become dominated by his increasingly polarizing political statements, alienating longtime fans and even his former bandmates with whom his relationship has been toxic for decades. The music, once timeless and universal, now serves as a backdrop for his personal crusade, and the physical realities of age are undeniable. His voice is frail, a shadow of its former self, and his stamina has clearly diminished.
When we'd finished making it, I took a quarter-inch home and I played it to my then wife, and she burst into tears, and I thought, well, she feels the same way I do.
For a man who created some of the most profound art in rock history, it's a sad spectacle to see his concerts devolve into divisive lectures. He could have retired a legend. Instead, he's touring as a polarizing figure, and the music that made him a giant has been relegated to second place.
Gave me that idea that I could write songs. I'm not sure how good they were, but at the age of 10, 11, I was writing.
The voice is often the first thing to go for a rock star. For Sting, a man whose career was built on those soaring, distinctive vocals, that reality has become painfully public. At 74, his musicianship is still sharp. His bass playing remains technically impressive. But the vocal decline is dramatic. He struggles to hit the high notes that were the signature of the Police's biggest hits. To compensate, he's taken to rearranging the classics, changing keys and melodies, a move that many fans who paid to hear the songs they love find frustrating and even disrespectful. The much-hyped Police reunion tours were marred by this very issue. It's a difficult thing to watch a master craftsman struggle with the tools that once made him great. Sting could easily step away and be remembered as one of the most iconic frontmen and bassists of his generation. Instead, he continues to tour, and each performance serves as a stark reminder not of the legend he is, but of the vocal power he has lost.
In the 90s, I like I said, I made that record. I was still up, and you can hear it in my voice on this Believe in Me record.
What happens when a revolutionary rock band becomes its own cover band? You get the modern-day Guns N' Roses, and in the middle of it is Duff McKagan, now 61. He's a solid, competent bassist who was part of one of the most dangerous and exciting bands in history. But the GNR of today is a nostalgia machine, touring endlessly on the fumes of its past glory. The much-anticipated reunion of 2016 never truly captured the volatile magic of the original lineup, and the band has released no significant new material since. They are playing the same set list, night after night, city after city. For McKagan, a talented musician in his own right, it must be a hollow experience. He's no longer part of a creative, forward-moving entity. He's an employee in a legacy act, endlessly repeating the past. For someone who helped redefine rock and roll, being a cog in a well-oiled tribute to his own youth feels like a creative dead end.
.5150 is actually the first album that I had to sing high background vocals. I mean high background vocals.
We found out what Mike was...
Eddie Van Halen's death in 2020 left an unfillable void in the rock world. For his former bandmate, bassist Michael Anthony, it also created a difficult question. How do you honor a legacy without exploiting it? At 71, Anthony, a fantastic musician whose backing vocals were integral to the classic Van Halen sound, is touring with Sammy Hagar, playing the band's beloved hits. But it's a tribute act. It's a performance of a museum piece. Eddie's genius was the creative engine of Van Halen, and any attempt to carry on without him feels like it diminishes what the band was. Anthony has become a ghost of the band's past, touring on nostalgia and the memory of his fallen friend. It feels less like a celebration and more like a funeral procession. With the band's creative heart gone, continuing to perform this material feels like clinging to a past that can never be recaptured.
But fantastic for the audience. What happened was, the audience just sat there for about an hour and a half.
Some bands fade away, others are officially put to rest. And then there are the zombie bands, the ones that keep touring long after the original spirit has died. Welcome to the strange afterlife of the Moody Blues. At 82, bassist John Lodge is still on the road performing the band's classic material. But here's the thing, the Moody Blues officially disbanded. The creative entity ceased to exist. Yet Lodge continues to tour under the band's name, or as a solo act playing their songs. It's a move that feels less like honoring a legacy, and more like clinging to it. The Moody Blues created some of the most beautiful, innovative music in rock history, and they deserve to end on their own terms with their legacy intact. Instead, the name is kept alive, a hollow shell of what it once was, and it tarnishes the memory of a truly great band.
Richie, John and Ian decided they would go out for lunch, and David and I stayed in the studio and I recorded something at the piano with him.
He calls himself the voice of rock. But for Glenn Hughes, now 74, that title has become both a blessing and a curse. He was, and in many ways still is, a phenomenal vocalist and bassist. But decades of hard living and drug abuse have taken an irreversible toll.
Hospital, and I told them that I'd over-medicated myself. So I went for treatment in the desert in LA at Betty Ford.
While he's been clean for years, his voice is a shadow of its former self. His live performances have become a game of Russian roulette for fans. Some nights he's on fire, commanding the stage with power and grace. On other nights he's audibly struggling, the famous voice cracking under the strain. The inconsistency has become the defining feature of his recent career. To continue billing himself as the voice of rock, while his instrument is so clearly compromised, feels like a denial of reality. He could retire as a legend. Instead, he's risking that legacy every time he steps on stage, reminding the audience of what's been lost.
Come up with something off the top of our heads since we did the song Paranoid back in 1970.
In 2017, Black Sabbath gave their fans the perfect goodbye. The End tour was a powerful, emotional, and definitive farewell from the godfathers of heavy metal. It was a masterclass in how to end a legendary career with dignity. Or was it? For bassist Geezer Butler, now 76, the final chapter seems to be unwritten. In the years since that final show, he has repeatedly hinted at the possibility of reunions, keeping the door open for just one more run. But why? Black Sabbath's legacy is secure. They ended on a triumphant high note. To dangle the possibility of a reunion feels disrespectful to that perfect ending. It risks turning a poignant farewell into a false promise, prolonging the inevitable, and potentially tarnishing the memory of a band that knew exactly when to say goodbye. Sometimes, the most powerful thing a legend can do is let the end be the end.
Mr. Big had a ton of harmonies, and the audience would sing along, and it was a beautiful thing. This one is called The Road to Ruin.
In the 1980s, being a shredder was the pinnacle of rock musicianship, and few could shred on the bass like Billy Sheehan. His technical virtuosity is, even at 72, simply astounding. But what happens when the style that made you famous becomes a relic of the past? That's the dilemma Sheehan faces. The flashy, look-at-me technical solos that defined an era have fallen out of favor. Modern rock values groove and simplicity over complexity. Yet Sheehan continues to tour, showcasing his incredible chops to a shrinking audience of dedicated bass enthusiasts and nostalgic fans. His relentless self-promotion as the best comes across as arrogant to some, and his style feels increasingly out of step with the times. He's a master of a dying art form, a bit like being the world's greatest accordion player in the age of synthesizers. He could retire as a technical legend. Instead, he's a virtuoso playing to a world that has largely moved on. Sometimes greatness overstays its welcome. These bassists helped define an era, but their final acts left more winces than standing ovations. And it raises the question, is it better to burn out or fade away? Which performances made you uncomfortable to watch? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk. If you're into more music deep dives, controversial lists, or rock legends gone wrong, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching.